Alright, getting it off of the yoke stand, that wasn't too bad. I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit of a trick. So I'm thinking of maybe trying to use the legs here of the cherry picker as a way to assist me with that. The inside of this pan is still pretty greasy. So, let's see. If I take this chain off, you could just try to muscle the whole thing, but I know I'm going to get it up on its edge and then I'm going to have a real problem lowering it down carefully. So I think I want to use this to assist me along the way. So let me let's see here if I... supper's ready. There we go. Oops. How does so much dirt, grease, and oil get on the underside of this thing? You hit the ground so hard it bounces back up. Boy, there's a lot of dirt and grease in this area here. That's going to be a pain in the butt to clean that out. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, what if I only cleaned and prepped this from like this ridge area here out to the edge here and ignored this whole area inside here? Unless you got down on your hands and knees and looked up under the underside of this pan, you would never know that I didn't do it. It could just be our little secret. I think I would sleep at night. Yeah, I know, I complained before about how much this off gas is, but the thing is, works so darn good. I mean, this stuff really is good stuff. I mean, it's just melting that away. Alright, so let me tell you a story. Today is March 23rd, I believe. 24th, something like that. Anyways, so I've been looking for a milling machine. And I've gone out and looked at a couple of milling machines. And so far, I mean, by the time I get out to editing this video and putting it online, I may very well, by that point, actually already have a milling machine in my possession of a little luck. But anyways, so I'm having coffee with a gentleman I know. He was a good friend of my older brother when they were kids. And he still lives in town, and I sometimes see him down the coffee shop, and he's a nice enough guy. So we get to talking. He's probably 15 to 20 years my senior, which makes him a senior. Anyways, look how nice that's cleaning up. So we're talking, and I'm telling him how I'm getting into this hobby of metal work. Oh, I'd like to get a milling machine. You know, wouldn't you know it, his luck would have it, he says to me, he says, geez, he says, you know, I know a guy, he's got some machine shop equipment, and maybe he'd be interested in selling some, because he doesn't really do too much with it anymore. So, he starts telling me about the guy, and he says, geez, he says, you know, he's always telling the guy, he says, why don't you sell that stuff? So, I says, well, do me a favor. Give him my name and number. Have him give me a call if he's interested. Maybe selling a milling machine. Didn't know anything about what he had or whatever, so. The guy calls me. He's out in Connecticut. Not too far, just over the line. And he says to me, he says, yeah, I'm Joel's friend. He told me you might be interested in a milling machine. So he says to me, yeah, I got one. He says, actually I got two, but I'm going to keep one. He's got an Enco milling machine that he wants to keep, which is pretty much, I saw that's pretty much a Bridgeport clone, if I've ever seen one. And he says the one he's thinking of selling, he says this is a Wells Index. And wouldn't you know it, that's like I think the second one I had run into, so I had already done a little research on those. And found out the Wells Index company's still in business. And they made milling machines for a while now, vertical milling machines. And if you actually start to look in some of the threads on Practical Machinist sites like that, and you do a little digging, you'll find. So I was just sitting here yakking away, telling you my story about the milling machine. Found out that the camera memory on the Bloggy filled up. So I don't know how much of it was recorded. So I'm going to start the story over again, but then I'm just going to jump forward and splice it all together nicely. I did some research on the Wells Index milling machines and found out the Wells Index milling machine is actually a hell of a nice milling machine. The drawback to it is that it's not as common as a Bridgeport. So finding new and used parts are going to be more scarce and therefore more expensive for it. Pluses are, because they're not as well known, and people tend to put the Bridgeport up there as the pinnacle of milling machines, and there's going to be a lot of debate on that by people that will tell you that, you know, that's not necessarily true, blah. Well, anyways, the thing is, you can get the Wells Index machine typically cheaper than a Bridgeport because of that fact. The other fact is, the Wells Index machine, I think it's the 847 model, I forget which one it is. That's the one that's pretty much a knockoff of a Bridgeport. But it's about 400 pounds heavier than a Bridgeport, which makes it a more rigid machine, which helps keep vibration down from what I understand. And so that's why some guys really consider it to be a superior machine to the Bridgeport. Now I'm not saying it is, I'm not saying it is. I don't have one, I don't run one, I don't know. I've never run either one of those. So I'm no authority. All I'm saying is that the more I read about it, the more convinced I was that it wouldn't be a bad machine to have. So you can imagine, I went on the website. Lathes UK is a great website. They've got a whole bunch of interesting biography information on makes and models made by different companies over the years of milling machines and lathes and stuff like that. So I went on there. Found out about the 847, I think it is. And then I found a video online on YouTube. I think it's by a guy called Keith Rucker. Keith, if I got your name wrong, I apologize. He's got a website. He's involved in an organization that runs a website called, I think, Vintage Woodworking Equipment. And then there's also a vintage metalworking equipment component to it. And I think they do a lot of work with restoration and stuff like that at some type of a museum or, I don't know, not quite sure. But anyways, he did a video where he's basically doing kind of like a review, tool review of the 847 milling machine. Apparently, a lot of people had seen him using it. This is turning green. It's taking the paint off a lot. But anyways, a lot of people have requested that he do a little walk around of his 847 milling machine. But watch the video. I suggest you watch it if you have an interest in milling machines. Fell in love with the machine.
I was floored by what a nice machine it is. So I was really chomping at the bit to get out there and see this one that this guy potentially might sell me. Well, when I got there, I took one look at it and realized it's not 847. I took another look at it and realized, it's quite a bit earlier. Ended up finding out model 55. It's one of the first of the milling machines series, vertical machines that Wells Index made. Model 55 or a model 65? It's an early one. It's got a very, very heavy head. It would be a very rigid, good vertical milling machine. Small table on it. The drawback is, unlike its later models in the Wells Index line, which are more like the Bridgeport, it has no capability to tilt the head, nod the head, or swing the head. Basically, it's just got this big rigid head that comes up here like this, and got the quill, and that's basically it. And then it has quill feed, but the quill feed is actually run by a belt and pulley arrangement, which he didn't have hooked up. So, couldn't see if that would work. And then, when he had got the machine, on the right side of the table, somebody had put a windshield wiper motor. Apparently that's a common thing because it's a high torque, low speed motor, and you're just running off of a 12 volt power supply. They had put that on the right side to rig up a power feed. That machine came from the factory with power feed. The whole gearbox and everything for the power feed was missing off the machine. So his best price on it was $800. And I immediately thought to myself, $800, I'm not going to pay that. $800, you're approaching used Bridgeport. I've seen Bridgeports, running Bridgeports, be it completely manual machines, for $1,000. So, I was like, passed. And he didn't really have any interest in coming down on the price at that point. I've looked at several machines since then. Well, or I came close several times since then. Up in New Hampshire, there was a company that had an R&D department that had a machine shop, and they decided they were going to sell off all the machinery, or a big part of the machinery. They listed on Craigslist a whole list of stuff, and they put that stuff out there with blowout prices. And when I called the contact guy at the company, he told me the phone was ringing off the hook. I called him the day after it posted because he had not one, but 2 beaver mills. Beaver mills are another Bridgeport clone. It's kind of like a Bridgeport on steroids. Another very beefy machine. He had 2 of those. One of them was in running condition. The other one, he said they weren't sure about. It had been taken out of service and they hadn't done anything with it for a while. It was sitting there. And his thinking was somebody could buy the 2 of them. He was asking $400 a piece. $400 a piece. So for $800, he was going to sell you the 2 of them. I called him in the morning, and he told me he already had a guy coming in at 1:30 to look at him. He was 2 hours away. I couldn't get there before then because I had a prior commitment that morning. And make a long story short, he had another lathe. I forgot what the lathe was. It was a nice lathe. They blew the lathe out for $400. He had not one but 2 surface grinders, a Brown and Sharp and a Reed, $500 a piece. Those actually took a little longer to sell. He was very surprised it took that long. He had 2 other lathes. One was a turret. One was a huge English-made turret lathe. I forgot who made it. The thing was a monster. That probably ended up having to go to scrap because everybody he said that came and looked at it just kind of chuckled. It was a beast. And then he had a Hugami, I think, lathe. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. But that also kind of had like a turret thing on it. So that wasn't as popular. I forgot what the first lathe was that they sold. They sold that right away. And then I said he had the beaver mills. They sold right away. All that stuff. So I missed a chance to get something great there. And then found another guy with a machine shop. He said he had a machine shop and he was selling all this stuff. Turns out he had bought all this stuff from he worked for a company. He bought a bunch of stuff when they were selling it off. He put it in the basement of his house, didn't set it up, got in a divorce situation, had to take the stuff out and put it in his dad's garage. The stuff's all sitting in his dad's garage and he's got no room for it. He's got a small South Bend lathe and he's got a Bridgeport, J-head Bridgeport, variable speed, with an old, very old Southwestern Industries track numerical control. I think only the X-axis was on it, maybe, I don't remember. But that, you know, that's really old. That's a real pain in the butt to program if you wanted to do that, from what I understand. And on that, because of the numerical control, the lead screw was changed out to a ball screw. And when he needed to take that lathe and get it down his basement, he took the table off, took the lead screw. Alright, the camera timed out on me. So what I was saying was that when he needed to take it down to the basement, he decided to take the table off and he just unscrewed the lead screw, which you never want to do on a ball screw setup, because what happens is all the little tiny ball bearings are just free to just fall out all over the place. So when I looked down at the top of the saddle, I could see all the little pieces, just little balls in there. So he's under the impression it needs a ball screw kit, and he says it'd be about $1,000. And you know what? He's still firm on his price, asking price of $1,000. So I ended up passing on that. I later found out that I think maybe you could get away with just getting any missing ball bearings, replacing just the little balls, and putting it back together. Problem is, never saw the thing run, not able to see it run. It's three-phase, he's got no three-phase power there. It's a part, you know, so gonna pass on that one. And the other reason I want to pass on that one is because the state of Connecticut, they have a Votech school down there that they're getting ready to apparently retool the machine shop. So they have 3 milling machines that they're auctioning off. They also have about 10 South Bend lathes, but the milling machines are what I'm interested in. So I got a shot at getting one of those. One of them's a manual, all manual machine. It's got power feed that's broken. The other 2 machines have a CNC on them. It's track 2, which is even though it's an old, by today's standards, it's newer. It's not one of those deals where you got to just program in all the different codes and everything line by line numerical. This actually has a little CRT screen, so you can actually do some programming. I talked to the guy I know down there at the flea market, and he's worked one of those machines, and he said they're a dream to operate. And he said you could do a lot of things with that machine, and he said that they're very simple to learn. He said you could he could take a novice like me, and he said in one day he could teach me how to operate that machine proficiently. So anyways, the CNC part of it. So there's that, and then there's another machine shop came up, listed at Craigslist, stuff for sale, and I looked at the picture, and the guy just didn't even put the brand in the milling machine. It's clear these guys know nothing about what they've got for sale there. So I could see the picture. It was really out of focus, taken obviously with a camera phone, poor lighting, but I could just make out, based on the way the shape the head was, the shape of the oval emblem, and I could tell it was a Wells Index, and it was like an 847, one of those newer ones like Keith Rucker has. And I think it might even be the exact same one he has, exact same model. What a dream. They're just looking for offers. I called, I wanted to go right down and buy it. Guy explained to me, they're selling it for a woman, so it's either a divorce situation or a widow situation, something like that. And she has no idea what to get for these machines. So what she's doing is she's having these guys have people come down and make offers on the machines, and she's not committing to anybody until she's had this stuff listed for about a week. So supposedly this coming Wednesday is when she's going to decide. So I talked to the guy and I said, well, then I want to come down on Wednesday, because guess what I want to do? I want to go down there on Wednesday with the cash, and I want to make it clear. I'll make an offer, but I expect it to either be rejected or accepted while I'm here. I don't really feel like driving 2 hours down here, wasting my time, 2 hours down there, wasting my time, and finding out that they're not in a position to sell. So we'll see what happens there. They got a big cabinet full of tool bits and stuff like that, and the guy doesn't even know what's in there. On the table, because when I told him the picture wasn't a very good picture, I shouldn't have said anything, because apparently he decided, he took that picture down, he put a better picture up. Now you can clearly see it's a Wells index machine, and you can clearly see that mounted right on the table is a nice vise and a rotary table. So you got the machine, the rotary table, the vise, a cabinet full of stuff that they're saying that that's going to go with the machine. So I don't know what's going to happen there. So a lot's going to happen this coming week in my life as far as milling machines go. What's going to happen is I'm going to go for the ones on the auction. If I get one of those, that's the end of that. If I don't get one of those, I'm going to go down and try and get the Wells index machine. If that fails, then I can come back and revisit either trying to get the guy with the $1,000 Bridgeport to come down on his price a little more again, or the guy with the old Wells index machine that I first looked at. He came over to the house today out of the blue with my friend to let me know he wants to sell it to me for $650. It's funny. If when I had first gone and looked at the machine, and he said he wanted $800, but he said he'd take $650, I probably would have bought it right then and there. I'm actually kind of glad I held off, because I might actually end up getting something better for not much more money, depending on how well things work out. Well, I guess I'm going to quit for now. I might do the back side there while I'm down here, but I think you guys have seen enough of me cleaning one night. So here's my plan. I've got a plastic tub underneath here, and I'm just going to... This is just straight clean water. And I'm going to wipe this down after I rinse it. Still spilling a lot of water on the floor, but I've got the plastic down and I'm not spilling anywhere near as much water. I'm not getting the floor anywhere near as wet as if I didn't have the pan there at all, so I'll use some sort of probably a zero residue solvent on this before I prime. But that'll be after I rough this up some. I'm not going to be as aggressive on the underside of this as I was taking the paint off and getting down to bare metal on the inside of the pan. This is the underside. It's not going to see any abrasion, really, other than maybe during assembly and moving it around.